Hey, what's going on, guys? This is your boy C-Will back to you with another video. And like you saw in the 7800 XT video, at the end, I said I had a little surprise, and boom, here it is. So I didn't keep the 7800 XT. As you saw in the review, 7800 XT is a great card. It's probably one of the best cards that you could pick up for 1440p gaming, especially at the price point. But I definitely want to make sure, since I tried out my first AMD card, I wanted to get the biggest brother of them all, the one that gives a 4090 a run for its money. Of course, we're going to get into that a little bit later. But man, we got the RX 7900 XTX. This is the Sapphire Nitro, just like we had in the 7800 XT. This one's a little bit different, though. It's definitely more powerful. We're talking about boost clock up to 2680 megahertz. Game clock up to 2510 megahertz, has 6,144 streaming processors. The compute units is 96 CUs, which includes the RT and AI accelerators. 96 megabytes of infinity cache. The infinity cache, just like the CPUs and stuff like that. It has 96 ray accelerators, 24 gigabytes, as you can see right here, of GDDR6, 384-bit on the bandwidth for the VRAM. Man, and this also has two HDMI 2.1 ports and also two DisplayPort 2.1. Which is the only card on the market that has DisplayPort 2.1 port. So, yeah, this thing is like fully loaded. And of course, we got this for 4K gaming, and we definitely going to put this up against the 4090 Founders Edition. As you can see here, that's off to the side. And yeah, we about to get ready to open up this bad boy. Let's take a look at a couple of things and get it into the system. We got knife on deck. So I picked this up from Micro Center today. And yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I'm only gonna do one side on this. Let me know what you think down in the comments below about the 7800 XT review. Definitely, after you watch this, definitely make sure that you go check that out. If you want a mid-range card and you play 1440p or 1080p, you could do both of those high refresh rate on that particular card. And this card right here is definitely made for high refresh rate. And we're talking about 165, plus FPS with 1440p, and also 100 plus on the 4K gaming. This thing is super heavy, and I'm trying to get it out the box without tearing the box. You're on that right. Here we go. Now, just like the 7800 XT Nitro version, this one is also a 3-slot card. I think the power TDP power on this is like 420 watts. You definitely need at least an 800-watt power supply. And of course, we're using a 1,000-watt power supply. And as you see here, in this accessory box, it actually comes with a cable that's used. The card has a ARGB header on it, and here's the actual cable. So you can connect this to your motherboard and get the light bars, and I say bars with plural as a S because it comes with two RGB bars on the card. The 7800 XT only had one. Crazy. We have the SAD bracket, so it comes with one because this is a huge card. It's 3 slots, 3 brackets, just like the 4090. And let's see if I could. Whoa! Let me tell you something. This is significantly heavier than the 7800 XT. Oh my God! Which is also a 3 bracket, 3 slot card. Sheesh, big boy, big boy. All right, so we'll slide this out. Goodness gracious, beautiful. This is probably one of the best looking cards I've seen. This is why I went with the XTX version, the Nitro Plus. Speaking of a couple of things, so it has a metal backplate. You also have the BIOS switch right here. It has 3 different settings. You have one that's a software switch, a OC switch, and then a silent switch. And so I am going to leave this on default. And the reason why I'm going to leave it because once we get inside, there's what we call Trixx software for this, and you can actually be able to change the dual BIOS settings within the software, and you don't necessarily have to change the switch on the card, which is dope. This card right here takes 3 8 pins, so that's pretty dope. So I already have those installed on the system. The 7800 XT had it was a dual 8-pin connector, so this is 3. This is triple 8-pin, and yeah, this thing is correct. So we have a RGB light bar here, and then an RGB light bar here. Man, I think this is gonna look crazy on the inside. 3 fans. This is one of the quietest cards that's on the market, and so we'll definitely take a look at that too. And yeah, so if you want to see a side-by-side comparison of what this looks like up against the 4090, then there you go. They are, I know this, the 4090 is about, I think it's about 12 inches. It's definitely shorter than the XTX. The XTX is like 320 millimeters. I still don't know what that converts to in inches, but I'll put that up on the screen. If we put these side by side like that, you can see the, the width difference in those. And yeah, they're both 3-slot cars. They're thick, you know what I'm saying? They're thick and they're heavy. And that's what she said. And then, these just, I like to have fun. But yeah, this is the 4090 card is dense. It's solid. And just trying not to drop these, but picking these up, 4090 feels like it's heavier. But we definitely going to go ahead and get this popped into the system. And of course, we are going to be vertically mounting this thing. So let's get it. So I had to film myself taking the actual film off. I almost forgot. Look at this. Ooh. The peel. Yes, sir. Okay, that went bad right there. That went bad today. Whew. 3 down. Goodness gracious. All right, we got the fan spinning. Cool. Let's make sure we don't have any other plastic on this side. And I don't think that we do. It doesn't feel like we do. Okay, let's get this into the case. All right, let me tell you something. I know it looks like the 7800 XT. I know it looks the same, but it's different. We got the 3 8-pin connectors there. RGB bar here across the top. Then across the bottom is also an RGB bar. We're about to turn this bad boy on. 7900 XTX Sapphire Nitro Plus. Ballin'. Okay, let's hit this power switch. Ooh. Look at the light bar. All the way across, baby. Look, up on the bottom. Light bar. All the way across. Super dope. 7800 XT. Nitro Plus only had 1 across the top, but this one has 2. Let's get inside Windows and see what's crack-a-lacking. If you saw my 7800 XT video, Sapphire Nitro Plus, you know about the Trixx software. So with the Trixx software, you can actually download this from SapphireTech.com website, and man, it gives you so much information. So here you could be able to see the name of your card, the GPU information, the die size, the amount of memory, the memory bus, the current driver that you have. It'll tell you whether or not resizable bars enable, which if you're running a AMD GPU and an AMD CPU, it's called Smart Access Memory. The amount of shaders, raster units, texture units, the BIOS version, the DirectX version that you have, and so on and so forth. So what's great about this software also too, is you can actually, remember earlier when I was telling you about the actual BIOS switch that's on the card. So it's a dual BIOS card. You have the OC version, and then you have the silent version. But it defaults to like this auto switch, which allows you to be able to use the Trixx software to be able to switch between the different BIOS. But with this card, you could leave it on OC mode, because like even when it's 100%, fans are super solid, and we're going to take a look at that as well. But yeah, you could be able to, it has a hardware monitor in here that you could be able to use. Trixx Boost, which I thought this was an overclocker program, but actually what it is, it allows you to be able to do resolution scaling to increase the FPS. So I actually don't recommend that you use this, not
on your $1,000 graphics card because you want to play at native settings, and then use, you know, maybe FSR, FSR3, FSR2, if you need to. Fan health check. I actually ran this, and you could be able to test the actual fan speed and health of your fans, and they actually ramp up, and it's pretty cool. Then the Nitro Glow, you know, we talked about it earlier. It has a light bar on the top of the car, light bar on the bottom of the car. So this car has a dual light bar. On the 7800 XT, only had just one light bar on top of the car. So you could change this to different effects, rainbow serial, auto visual, custom. You could plug up an external ARGB cable that comes with the box. You could plug it up to the motherboard if you want to change it there. You can do the brightness, change the color speed. So this is pretty cool. So that's the Trixx software. The right click on AMD Adrenalin. I've gone over this software extensively in my 7800 XT review, but a couple of things I want to check out here. It actually shows, because we are using the preview driver, the setup is a little bit different. One of the main things is up under, well, this will tell you all the games and stuff that you've ran. And it gives you the FPS, but you can also go in here and click on different things when it comes to the HyperX. It has like different profiles that you could be able to use. But I want to go here to the, it's one thing that nobody is talking about, and that's up under the record and stream tab. If you go to settings up under the record and stream tab, there's so much information here. But one thing that I checked out, which was you can actually record at up to 120 FPS. And I'm going to tell you what's significant about that. I haven't seen where you could be able to do this anywhere else. So what's significant about this is that if you ever wanted to record slow motion content, you can actually record at a higher frame rate. And then inside of your like DaVinci Resolve or Premiere Pro, if you're using a 60 FPS timeline, if you cut the speed in half, you can actually look at slow motion footage. And what's good about that is looking at different, if we was doing side-by-side comparisons, or if we wanted to take a look at some like some fast action stuff, which is why we're waiting this to finish updating Call of Duty. But man, if you want to actually take a look at some, you know, some fast-paced footage in slow-mo, or looking at different quality settings for different games, this is a perfect way to be able to do it. And you could be able to, you know, record at a high frame rate and then slow it down. So I am so looking forward to this, and definitely doing some more testing with that. I put that in a separate video. But yeah, and even on the performance tab, you see a lot where it gives you even more information for FPS, your GPU memory, CPU, latency information. So yeah, so when you get a chance, definitely, you know, if you have a AMD graphics card, download the new Adrenalin software, check out the preview software, because that's where a lot of this other features and software technology opens up. So yeah, you know, I like to do live benchmarks so you see exactly how a game runs and you don't have to depend on charts. We're looking at these type of things. So again, we got the Sapphire Nitro Plus 7900 XTX along with the best gaming CPU that you could buy right now, the 7800X3D. And let's take a look at some of the options that we have. Everything should be at 4K ultra settings, but we could double check that. So you see we got the 7900 XTX, 4K quality mode, everything is on ultra. HD textures is on, Intel LSN is on, motion blur on. I normally cut that off, but I just leave it on. DXR reflections and shadows are both on, and the Fidelity FX cast is off. Advanced settings, we have everything pretty much turned off here. Let's take a look at the benchmark. All right, I reset the 1% lows, and looks like we dropped down to 78. And we're averaging about 120, 118, fluctuating. But 1% lows looks like it's around about 78. I pay attention to those, you know, as we go through some of these CAN benchmarks. You know, a lot of times when people give you the 1% lows during the run, it's really the lowest you know, it's the lowest actual frame rate. A lot of times when they talk about the 1% lows, it's the lowest frame rate, you know, that you receive, you know, 1% of the time. And it's usually not indicative of, you know, what you see at the end of the benchmark. So 78 for the 1% lows, but the average frame rate turned out to be 129. That is really good for 4K, ultra settings, DXR reflections on. So yeah, that's pretty good. Let's take a look at the next game. All right, next game that we got up is Hogwarts Legacy. And let's take a look at some of the settings that we have going on here. So window full screen is the only option that we have for full screen. 4K, we're using TAA high for anti-aliasing, no upscaling. And here are the rest of the settings. We're on the ultra recommended setting, no ray tracing. We're going to take a look during our run. This is the Hogsmeade area on the map. And let's reset the 1% lows. And let's do the run. And this is definitely a hard area to run. Usually, especially around this mark right here on the 4090, my frame rate would drop for the 1% lows, and it didn't do it. So I don't know if that has to do with the smart access memory, which is basically it's the same thing as rebar. Since we're running a AMD CPU and an AMD GPU together, that's one of the perks. So I think because when I was running 4090 and, you know, we definitely going to look at some comparisons with the actual 4090. Don't know if we're going to be able to get that done within this video. I may make that a separate video because I have certain things that I want to point out. But I could tell you, you know, if you've ran a video graphics card or not, I know when I was playing on the 4090 at the beginning of this run, it will always drop, always. So it's interesting that it doesn't do it on this particular card and CPU together, but I mean, hey, it is what it is. So it always drop around this area, so that's weird. So far so good, you know, playing at 4K, you know, doing an average, we got an average of 83, 82. So yeah, I take it. It looks like our 1% lows, I think, was 55. So yeah, that's, you know, Hogwarts Legacy. And this is, like I said, this is a tough area on the actual map to run. And so it was interesting. You know, I like the numbers though. I like the numbers. 7900 XTX. All right, let's move on to the next game. Okay, next game we have up is Starfield. And yep, one of the most popular titles of the year. So let's take a look. Let's see, last time we ran this, it was at 1440p on the 7800 XT. And so let's see, let's make sure. All right, we're on 4K. The graphics preset that I had on this was ultra, so everything was on ultra, but I turned off a couple of things: motion blur, VSync, upscaling, VRS. Those things are off. Now I also have my own run for this too, inside of Kila City. So I do actual slow run around Kila City. This helps with not depleting down my CO2. So I try to do a slow run. So far, looks like 1% lows is dropping down to 55, 54, 53. You know, we are at 4K, 52, 51, 50. We are at ultra settings.
Having a good one?
49, 48, 47. Now, 7900 XTX is the best graphics card that you could buy for AMD. And this is a 4K card. And I'm gonna be honest with you, you would think that I know this is a tough area of the game to run. Obviously, inside of Kilo City, it's hard to run, but once you get like inside one of the stores or houses, the frame rate goes up. And every other part of this game, like when you're outside in the planets and stuff like that, frame rate, saying it's a lot higher. But man, I know we're averaging 4K, this is 4K. The average frame rate is 61 so far. But the 1% lows gives you the experience that you have while playing the game. And 48, I just hate to see that, but it is what it is. Starfield is not one of the best optimized games considering the CPU and GPU that we're using right now. But I could tell you, I don't know. I definitely have to compare this against the 4090 to see the difference, but I'm pretty sure the 1% lows and the frame rate on the 4090 was higher inside of Aquila City. But we're going to test that anyway. So stay tuned for that, the comparison. But if you want to play Starfield and run a 4K native experience with Starfield, and inside of like the hardest areas to run, this is what you can expect. So we're still averaging 61, so that's good. It's just the 1% lows. You'll feel that within the game. So this is a pretty good run. Still getting 4K 60, but definitely with top of the line graphics card like this, I guess I expect a little bit more, and this is probably coming from, having a 4090. So, but yeah, I mean, you're still averaging 60 FPS. So it's still a win in my book. All right, moving on. Okay, next game that we have up here is CyberPunk Phantom Liberty. And yeah, I haven't gotten to the Phantom Liberty part of the game just yet. But we're going to take a look at CyberPunk. Let's go to the settings. Gameplay, and this is the same thing I did in my 7800 XT portion of the video. HDD mode is off. If you want to make sure that everything is loading up on the screen like it's supposed to, then make sure that this is turned off. If you have it turned on, it may take away some of the assets and stuff like that, crowd density and stuff like that. Also AMD simultaneous multi-threaded SMT, make sure that you have this on if you have a AMD processor. All right, graphics. This is, well, we're actually just going to change this to, I forgot what I had this on earlier. But the first thing that we're going to test out is ultra settings. So I'm going to lead on ultra. I am going to turn FSR off, no upscaling. Hit apply, and everything else should be on high ultra settings. Okay, cool. This is good here, huh? Let me reset the 1% lows. Okay, so 4K ultra settings, no ray tracing. We are averaging 65. So let's take a ride. And looks like we dropped down to 57. So CyberPunk is a hard game to run. It's just loaded with so many different things. I wasn't going to talk about this right now, but I know the question is going to pop up. Will I switch to an all AMD build? And I can tell you, the 4090 is just a beast of a card. And I play at 4K. So playing at 4K high refresh rate is very important to me. It's almost kind of like one of those things, like once you see it, you can't unsee it. And I'm not even talking about the ray tracing or the path tracing. I'm just talking about just playing at 4K ultra settings, period. When you have the right type of monitor and equipment and everything, I'm playing on the LG CX TV, OLED TV, the HDR on this TV, the inky blacks, the level of detail is just absolutely amazing. And I'm playing on it right now, and this is a great gaming experience. But We don't even have and ray tracing in this game, and I like CyberPunk. So ray tracing in this game is absolutely amazing. But I tell you, not being able to play 4K native, you know, it makes you kind of think, you know, whether or not I could be able to have the 7900 XTX, you know, as a main graphics card that I use in my main build. And I got to test out some more games, but I can't make that conclusion just yet. Because if I did it just off of this game, that wouldn't be fair. But I can tell you that, you know, this is until they implement FSR3 in this game, FSR2 is not that great, you know, of an upscaler. I mean, it works, you know, when you have the right type of equipment, you can notice things. So let's go in here, let's go to settings, and let's turn on, tell you what, let's turn on ray tracing to ultra. So ray tracing ultra, and let's change FSR2 to quality and click on apply. Okay, just reset the 1% lows, and yeah. So with FSR quality, it changes the render resolution to 1440p and upscales to 4K. And you know, this is, I can see I'm playing on a 65-inch 4K TV, OLED TV, and I can already tell the difference in quality. See, this is what I'm saying. When you have the right equipment, you could definitely, and you could take advantage of high-end graphics cards and hardware. You know, this is the reason why we do the video. So, you know, a lot of times, you know, before people make large, you know, buying decisions, you know, they come to YouTube and they like to see people try this stuff out, you know, before they make those decisions. And I can tell you, you know, this is not a great experience. I was expecting, I mean, I know, you know, AMD is not up there with NVIDIA when it comes to, you know, like ray tracing and upscaling quality, but FSR2 quality mode with ray tracing on CyberPunk, I mean, I didn't buy all this high-end hardware to, you know, the average frame rate's at 40 FPS. So that's a little bit disappointing. I just got to be honest. But I love the Sapphire XTX. And this is just one of the few games that I probably can't have that same type of experience that I had with the 4090. A little bit later on in the video, we're going to check out fluid motion frames. I'm not going to do it right now because I will have to switch up to be able to get the overlay so you can be able to see what's going on. I have to make some changes. So I'm going to do it a little bit later on. But this is the experience so far. Ray tracing 4K 7900 XTX. Yep. It is what it is. All right, let's move on to the next game. Okay, next game that we have up is Jedi Survivor. And let's take a look. Visuals. So we're playing in 4K epic settings. VSync is off. Ray tracing is off. And this game supports FSR2. Now, I thought I turned this off, but I guess I didn't. Disable. Accept. And let's check it out. This game does not support FSR3 or Fame Gen from AMD, which is weird, but you know, we'll come back and take a look at ray tracing just to see you know, how big of a difference it makes in this game. All right, let's take a look. All right, I am going to reset the 1% lows. And so 4K epic settings, ultra settings. So far so good. Looks like 1% lows is definitely dropping below 60. Yeah, it looks like this game also had issues with stuttering. I don't know why this game had so many issues. And it just ran an update. That's the craziest thing about it. So oh, he grabbed me. Oh, yeah. So we definitely, we on the 1% lows, we definitely dropped down. Looks like we were still averaging about 63, 64. So yeah, this is Jedi Survivor. So this game definitely had some issues running this. You know what? Let me just look at it just real quick. I'm just curious to see. So what if I turn on ray tracing and then we turn on quality FSR2? See what that does. I tell you, it seems like no matter, I mean, maybe if you playing at 1440p, you can enjoy ray tracing. Oh man, he got me so quick. Yeah, maybe, you know, you can enjoy 1440p on an AMD card with ray tracing with upscaling on, but I play at 4K. So I'm telling you right now, if you want a 4K experience, you know, it's, you know, and you want, you know, you just want to play ray tracing, you are definitely in. Usually when I use upscaling, I don't go below quality because again, once you have a 4K monitor and you know you start playing, you know, it just doesn't look anything below quality is not gonna work. Yeah, we're just gonna toss this in the bucket. Let's move on. Let's check out another game. Okay, I finally got some new spells in this game. Before I get started though, let's take a look at settings that we have. We're playing at 4K. I had to change the brightness and some gamma settings. Of course, you have to change this to custom, but I'm on the ultra preset. So FSR3 is off, frame generation is off, not testing those. Just native 4K. And I think I got everything else that you can see. Do I have ray tracing on? Ray tracing is off. So good. So this is just native 4K. Let's see what we got.
Okay, this is awesome. I am catching some serious
Bears
air.
was chasing me.
Very impressive. Just try not to.
Oh, there you go. Oh, come on, man.
Yep. I could run like the wind, and I'm not even getting
I don't
tired.
even know what I'm doing.
Try not to get too careful.
That's not doing much. Look out.
She can run though, that's for sure. That parkour is no joke. Definitely saved me. See that now. You gotta be on it though. Ah, I died. All right, so you can see it looks like we was averaging about 66 and 1% lows. I think we dropped around about 46. So yeah, that's native settings. So FSR3 quality, no frame generation. Looks like we could be able to get 60 plus. So let's check it out and see what it looks like. Okay, so let's try
Okay,
this
this is
again.
awesome. I am catching some serious air.
Very impressive. Just try not to
Yeah.
catch some air.
Frame rate is definitely up. And from what I can see,
I could run like the wind, and I'm not even getting tired.
FSR3 actually looking pretty good. Definitely need to. FSR3 definitely needs to be. How did I die?
Draining more power.
Damn it. Yep.
All right, but FSR3 definitely seems to work pretty well. And I think that's probably how I continue to play this game going forward. All right, moving on. Next game. Okay, we have Forza Motorsport up here, newer title. Let's take a look at some of the settings. Okay, let's go over here to basic video. If you saw my 7800 XT video, then you know this will look familiar. I try to set everything on ultra settings. Make sure FSR2 is on off. We're playing at 4K. We'll go over here to advanced video. Everything should be on ultra. 16x ray tracing quality. We're going to start off with this off first, but everything else is on ultra. And so far so good. We definitely over the 100 FPS mark, which is good. 1% lows is looks like we're staying around 95 FPS. This is good. We're averaging 110. This is 4K native. Definitely want to check to see where we are. How much VRAM did we use? 11.47 gigabytes of VRAM. So, okay, let's take a look and see what happens when we turn ray tracing on. I know on the 7800 XT, the 1440p took a big hit, you know, when it came to turning ray tracing on. So let's see what happens. We'll start off with the 4 reflections in RTAO. Okay, and so far 67 on the average, 60 on the 1% low, 56. And yeah, the way that I would play this game, I'm just gonna be honest with you, you don't see a huge difference with ray tracing. You know, I think depending on the situation, depending on what you're doing, you know, if you see that, yeah, you can average 66, but I would probably want to play at native settings without ray tracing in this particular game. But hey, you know, depending on what you're doing, I mean, you're still over 60 FPS at 4K average, but your 1% lows do drop below 60 FPS. Okay, moving on to the next game. Okay, we have the Remnant 2, and let's take a look at the settings real quick. Playing at 4K, motion blur is off, frame rate 120, no upscaler. Everything is on ultra. And let's take a look at the, supposed to follow these good people.
Rude or thick down here.
So far so good.
Wait, you're from the ward?
You know, 4K native, no upscaling. We're averaging 69.
It's not far from here.
Looks like the 1% low is dropping to 57. It's not bad. It's below 60 FPS, but you know, the more that I could be able to play without an upscaler, the better. So that's how I'm gonna look at it. You know what I'm saying? Oh. Yeah, I actually need to beat this game. It's Unreal Engine 5 game. I think it only has Lumen in this game. I could be wrong about that. It's either it only has Lumen or Nanite. One of the two. It may be Nanite. But I'll put it up on the screen which one it actually has. But it's either Lumen or Nanite. I can't remember. But yeah, Unreal Engine 5 game. 79 XTX. Woo! Well, that came out of nowhere. But yeah, they had different. Man, I don't remember these first time. Definitely a lot of them. But yeah, it's a hard to run game with this new software, new technology. Hard to run game. But 7900 XTX with the 7800 X3D, it's doing this thing. It's doing this thing. I can't complain. All right, moving on to the next game. Okay, next game up, we have Immortals of Aveum. And this is another title that has FSR3. So it's only 2 titles. We looked at Forspoken earlier, and then it's this one that currently officially has FSR3. And just looking at the overlay up at the top, man, this is we have 4K native settings right now. VSync is off, FSR3 is off. I think we already know what we would get, you know, just by looking at the FPS. So let's go ahead and just turn on FSR3 on quality. We'll start with quality first. I'm thinking frame generation we may turn on, but let's start with quality first. Oh no, I may be wrong. I may need to go back and try native, because right now we at 80 FPS and 73 with the, yeah, this is the game that does the magic and the particles and everything. I'm going to try native settings. I jumped to the conclusion that based off of the actual menu screen that it probably couldn't do 4K native, but I don't know, because with FSR3, I mean, we're averaging 93. So let's check it out. And I'm sorry, I didn't even go through it. Everything was on ultra, fully maxed out across the board. I know I didn't show that at the beginning. Let's turn off FSR3. You know, if you didn't want to play this game with upscaling, you can. I'm pretty sure probably, you know, depending on where you are in some heavy battles, like right now we're averaging 67, but we definitely dropped below 60 on the 1% lows. So I would, you know, me personally, I would probably play this with FSR3 quality mode on. Yeah, just to get the higher frame rate, playing at 4K, you know, playing on a 120 hertz OLED LGCX. And I would rather have the higher frame rate. Playing this game, I would definitely choose FSR3, and that way I could be able to get closer to 100 FPS. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. We got one more game. Well, actually, we got 2 more games to check out. Moving on. So the next thing I want to check out is actually fluid motion frames. I know I did it on the 7800 XT, and we're going to take a look at it on the 7900 XT that we have here. And I think it's a couple of things that we will have to drive it that we have. Is the 23.30.01.02. And they made some updates to the actual being able to use HDR now. I don't believe we can use variable refresh rate with it just yet. But you can actually go in here up on the gaming, the graphics, and then click on fluid motion frames, which you have to enable. Anti-lag plus is enabled with that. But we're just going to check out CyberPunk. I know we looked at that game earlier, you know, when we turned on ray tracing with FSR2 quality mode. I mean, it was okay. So we're going to check out fluid motion frames to see if we could be able to get a better playing experience. There we go. All right, so they both go across the top, and as you can see, like across the top, it gives you the FPS. You see how it's double the FPS for MSI Afterburner. So MSI Afterburner, you have 3 different FPS. You have one is just going to give you the current FPS, then the average that's in the middle, and then the 1% lows. And then for the AMD overlay, it gives you the FPS, and it's pretty much double, which means that the fluid motion frames for frame generation is active. Okay, so let's just take a look. We're going to go inside the settings real quick. I am going to switch this over to Ray Tracing Ultra, FSR2 on quality. Click apply. Okay, so here's the thing with fluid motion frames, the native frame rate is 31 FPS. If you look at the AMD overlay, it says 62, right? So fluid motion frames, frame generation, it's not perfect, it's preview. Also, if you look at the top right-hand corner of the overlay for AMD, it says frame gen lag and it says 50 milliseconds. That's that's the total lag time, but then you have an average frame time that's a little bit closer to the left that says like 15, 16 milliseconds. So that's in addition to the frame gen lag. So yeah, you definitely get lag, but the way that this is set up, if we're playing at 4K like we are now, ray tracing, you know, ultra settings with this is just, it just can't do it. I have a higher standard when it comes to the 7900 XTX over the 7800 XTX. And the reason why I have a higher standard is because it's $1,000. 7800. So, you know, we're double the price of the 7800 XTX, but we're still nowhere near on the level of performance of a 4090, you know, specifically when it comes to ray tracing. Yeah. And then another thing, if you pan too fast, like I'm using a mouse and keyboard, and if you pan too fast, the fluid motion frames it goes away. So it doesn't stay in place because we drop into the 40s, you know, when we pan the camera around. So, yeah. So can you do ray tracing? You can, but it's not a great experience because I don't use anything other than quality mode because FSR is not there yet with this upscaling. So quality right now is rendering at 1440p and then upscaling to 4K. And so, and as you can see, you know, we're still in the 30s or 40s. But yeah, it's this is one of those situations where ray tracing looks good, but it's just not there yet, you know, from a performance standpoint for AMD. And, you know, once you know, from a upscaling standpoint, once you go below quality, which the next thing in line would be like balanced or performance mode, the render resolution goes down, which also the quality goes down, and it's just not a great game playing experience. So I just want to quickly show you what AFMF, is that what it's called? Or AMFM, something like that. Fluid motion frames. I just want to show you what that looks like on the 7900 XTX. And yeah, it has a long way to go, but I think the technology could work itself out later on down the line once they work out the kinks and the bugs and, you know, make sure that it works, you know, with variable refresh rate. And I think that'll kind of smooth things out as well. But yeah, so 7900 XTX is definitely a 4K card. Can it play every game 4K 60 frames per second? Pretty much, but some games it needs help. CyberPunk is one of them. So I think CyberPunk and Jedi Survivor are the two games that was kind of giving us a little trouble. But 7900 XTX is a great card. So I tell you what, let's take a look at one more last game that we're going to look at 1440p, and that's Call of Duty. Call of Duty, and you know what? Let me just show you what my settings are. I'm playing at 1440p. I got 165 hertz monitor. I am playing on the balance preset, and here's everything based off of balance. And yeah, let's see if we can be able to get into some action. The 7800X3D, I should probably up because we're not maxing out the card. Let's change this to ultra. There we go. All right. I try to max out the card as much as possible. But if we need to go back to balance mode to be able to get a higher frame rate, we will. And as you can see, we're at 99%, but we're still in the 200s. So if you have I know a lot of people, they turn down the actual settings and stuff like that. 219, you know, and this is at ultra settings, and I'm definitely seeing itching or whatever that is, but it's pretty weird. haven't experienced that, and it seems like it's only happening while. Well, I was gonna say while I run, but now that we're on the inside, the extra frame rate goes up. Of course, we're at 100%. I'm going to keep it the way that it is. I'm not going to change anything. Sometimes it depends on the map, depends on the level that you're on. A lot of things change when it comes to the FPS, and it looks like we need to hurry up. And I definitely did not land in a good area. But you can be able to see, the type of frame rate that you can be able to get with a 7800 HDD. And this is, again, I changed it to ultra. I was on balance. And yeah, so I think if you have a 1440p monitor and you 240 hertz, you could definitely make a couple of tweaks, make a couple of changes, and max it out. We're still averaging 230 frames per second, 1440p. You know what I mean? So if you are a COD player and you got a high refresh rate monitor, 240 hertz, I definitely say go for it. You know what I mean? Definitely go for it, because you're gonna get what you need. You got 1% lows, it's 143. And like I said, different maps will give you different results. But I think this is definitely a go. The wattage on the card looks like we also been hitting around about 400 watts. We only at 62% on the fan speed. Like I said, I can hear my case fans, my AIO fans over the actual card fans. We're gonna take a look at that. And if you saw my 7800 XT video, you know that these cards, Sapphire Nitro cards, they run crazy. They run crazy quiet. I knew that was gonna happen. Anyways, but yeah, that they run crazy quiet. So, and then the card, of course, running around 62 degrees. Yeah, you can't beat that. The 7900 XTX is amazing. It's a great card. Yes, does it have a couple of faults when it comes to ray tracing and playing at 4K and stuff like that? Yeah, but it's only in those particular cases. If you want to get pretty much like 80% performance, between 75 to 80% performance of a 4090 for this price, I think this card was actually like $1059, but I got a good deal on it. Definitely worth it. If you want a 4K AMD card, you don't want to pay the idiot tax. So we're going to take a look at a couple more things, and let's go.
Okay, next thing that I want to show you up next, and last thing that we're going to talk about is the actual the fan speed and noise when it comes to the actual GPU. And as you can see, I'm using OCCT. Across the top, you see here we have the 7900 XTX. It's at 65 degrees, 405 watts. We pegging it at 100%. That's the clock. And look at that. Fan speed is about 1400 RPM. And if we look, so it says that we're at about 1500 on the RPM. And it lines up inside the Trixx software and the fan speed. So it's a little bit over 25%. And yeah, and that's at 400 watts. That's crazy. And as you can see here, here's the card, a beautiful card. Yes, sir. And I'm in here. I'm this close to it. And I'm just going to be silent for a second just so you could be able to see. You can't hear the fans. And as you can see, we're close by the fans. And I'll give you a mouse click for the reference. Can't hear a thing, and that's why I love the Sapphire cards, man. It's amazing.
Okay, so I think the 7900 XTX Sapphire Nitro Plus is definitely a go. I believe if you could be able to get through not having, being able to use ray tracing in certain games and being able to use in other games, then yeah, it's fine. But this is definitely a 4K card, high refresh rate, 1440p and 4K. And I definitely think this is something that would be great for you. I also edited this video using the actual 7900 XTX, and it was able to render within like 6 or 7 minutes. So that's crazy. I'm gonna do a separate video for that. But let me know what you think down in the comments below, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.